Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today I'm going to be showing everything new in Minecraft 1.21. We're going to start with the big obvious features and then we'll cover the small minor features at the end. Now I'm not sure when this video will go live, but the update is scheduled for June 13th, so I'm planning to upload this either on the 12th or the 13th. The first feature, and this is the biggest feature, is the trial chambers. This is a new structure inside of Minecraft 1.21 that spawns in the biomes that you see on screen. It will more commonly spawn between Y levels -40 and -20, although it can peak above and below them sometimes when it generates a bit too big. This structure is a dungeon-like structure where there is a new type of spawner. This is a trial spawner. Now this spawner works like a wave type of system. When you're in survival mode and you get in range of it, it will spawn a set of mobs. The mobs that it spawns can be seen by the blocks around it. Now I will throw another image on screen so you can see exactly what blocks mean what mob. The mobs will not spawn all at the same time. It will spawn a few mobs, and as you take these mobs out, more mobs will be spawned, up to a max total of roughly 6, but it does depend on the type of mob. Once you've defeated all mobs for that spawner, it will eject a random item. This can be a random food item from a list of said items, or it can be a new item, the trial key. The trial key is used for another new block, the vault. The vault has two types, an ominous vault, which you can see right here, which will cover a bit more about the ominous event later on. There are also regular vaults that can be found randomly around the trial chamber, and we have found one right here. The vault will open up when you get close to it, and it will show you particles going into the keyhole. This can be opened with the key, consuming the key, giving you some random items. But the difference between this and a chest, more than one player can open this up to get their own loot. But if you've already opened the vault, you cannot open it a second time, although you can go and open another vault inside of the trial chamber. Now we can go to another vault and open this one, and you can see we'll get some random items. The items are different every time. They are taken from a random list of items. The loot you can get from these I will have on screen as well. And then inside of this structure there is a brand new mob, the Breeze. The Breeze is a mob like the Blaze, which is made up of wind. It will shoot wind charges at you, which when they hit you, they will just blow you away. Wind charges can also activate certain redstone blocks like buttons, levers, trapdoors, and doors. Upon killing a Breeze, you'll get some breeze rods. These can be put into a crafting table to get your own wind charges, which you can use as an item. Although these wind charges are a little bit weaker than the one the Breeze shoots. These wind charges can be used to shoot yourself up. They can also be used to activate certain redstone components as well. They do provide knockback to other mobs if you throw it near the mob, so you can use it in quite a lot of different ways. Now before we cover anything else inside a trial chamber, let's cover the blocks the trial chamber is made out of. So let's cover the copper blocks first. First of all, we have chiseled copper, which is a purely decorative block. This has no other use apart from decoration, and it's crafted from 2 cut copper slabs. We then have copper grates, which if a mob is inside of this block, they will not suffocate. This does also include the player. As you can see, inside the survival mode, I am not taking damage, although I can walk out of it like normal. But if this was a normal block, if I was to push some birch logs into my face, you can see that I am suffocating. Now the use for this may not be that useful, but it can be used in a few different ways. It can also be waterlogged, keeping the water contained in every direction and the water will not flow out. Next you have the copper door and copper trapdoor. These work like wooden doors where they can be opened by a player clicking on them. They can also be opened with redstone just like wooden doors can. These can also be interacted with the wind charge, opening and closing every time they are hit by one. And then we have the copper bulb. The copper bulb is a unique block which gives off a light level when it is lit. You can light it by giving it a redstone signal. But the thing is, it's not like a redstone lamp where it always requires a redstone source to be powered. If you unpower it, it will stay lit until it is powered again. Now the copper bulb, like every other copper block, comes with every single version of oxidization. But there is a difference between all the versions, and that is the light level. The light level will slowly be decreased depending on what version the light is coming from. So if we light this one up, you can see the light level from this one is a block of 3, which it's a 4. This one, if we then power that one, this one is giving 8 light level or 7. This one is giving 11 light level. and then this one is giving 14 light level. And just like normal copper, these can be waxed to make them go up a stage. They can also be honeycombed to stop them from oxidizing. Now these do have another state which might not be obvious. When they are powered, they'll show a little red light in the center, and this only shows when they have a redstone power going to the block. Now let's cover the tough blocks, as tough has had quite a lot of new blocks added as well. So the normal version of tough now has slab, stairs and walls. These are crafted like all the other versions, just using the tough block. Then tough does have a chiseled version which uses the wind charges pattern. This is crafted from 2 slabs in a crafting table. Tough does also now have a polished version, which also does have slabs, stairs and walls. The polished version is crafted just from 4 normal tough. And then the final blocks related to tough is tough bricks, also comes in slabs, stairs and walls, and then there is also a chiseled tough bricks. Now all the tough blocks are purely decoration, and they have no other use within the game. The next thing that we're going to quickly cover, just because this is a small thing, there are 20 new paintings inside the game. These can all be gotten from the random painting variant, so just placing them down, as long as it's the right size, you'll be able to get to some of these new paintings. They are all made by the same person who made the original paintings, apart from these 5 right here. So you've got these 3 and then these 2 right here, and these are made by someone called Sarah. Now before we jump back to the trial chambers to cover the rest of the features down there, let's quickly just cover the crafter. The crafter is crafted like so: some iron, a crafting table, dropper and 2 redstone. Now the crafter is a automatic crafter that crafts whatever recipe is within inside its inventory when it is powered by redstone. You can click on slots to lock them. If the slot is locked, then no items will be able to go into that slot. So you can lock slots to have only certain recipes. If you want, for example, swords to be crafted, you can lock these slots, leaving only these 3 open. Crafters do also work with redstone, outputting 1 signal for every slot that is either filled or locked. So if I have these 6 slots locked, it will give an output of 6, which you can see right there. It is powered 6. If I was then to put some items into the slot, it will also go up for 1. So now it should be giving 9, which it is. But if I was to unlock some of the slots, you can see the power does change. Now the difference between this and the dropper is when you put items into it, it goes in round robin, which what it means is if a item is being inputted through a hopper, it will fill up 1 in every slot before going back to the first one and then refilling that slot. Whereas with droppers and things like that, it will fill up each slot to 64 before it moves on to the next one. But this one doesn't do that. So the reason this is so the slots have the same amount of items in them. And then when it is powered by redstone, if we quickly just grab some source of redstone, it will have a animation and a sound effect when it is crafted, and it will spit the item out onto the floor. If there is another container in front of it, so for example a chest, the items will be spat into the chest, you can see right there. So we're now at a pillager outpost to cover the changes they have made to Bad Omen. Now we are basically just looking for one of the dudes with a banner on their head, which we have to just wait for one to spawn. And here we go, we have one. So when you now kill these, you'll no longer get Bad Omen by default. When you kill them, they'll drop a new item called the Ominous Bottle, and this comes in levels 1 to 5. When killing them, you'll get a random one, so you could get a level 1, you could get a level 5, or you could get anything in between. Now, you only get this bottle when killing ones that spawn at outposts, or ones that spawn naturally patrolling the world. You will not get the bottle for killing captains inside of a raid. When you drink the bottle, each bottle has the same amount of time. It will last for 1 hour and 40 minutes until it runs out. But the difference in levels is the difficulty in the raid you do. So when I drink this, there is a sound effect that plays. And you'd also get Bad Omen, which you can see the icon has changed. Now let's quickly cover what has changed about the villager part of this. So now if I enter this village on foot, you'll see that the effect will change. But the difference is, wherever you activate the effect, you can see I now have Raid Omen, you have 30 seconds to clear the effect. If you drink milk before that 30 seconds is over, the raid will not be started. But when I'm on this block, this is now the center of the raid, so the raids will basically go to this point. The fighting the raids has stayed exactly the same, it's just starting the raids that has been altered. Now with this, you do not need to drink the bottle before entering the structure, as if I drink this, nothing will happen. It's activated when you activate your first trial spawner. So if I quickly just fly over to this spawner over here, you'll see that the spawner changes color, and we do also get a effect. We do need to be in survival mode for this to work though. You can now see we have Trial Omen. And the mobs will now spawn a little bit more buffed. Now, the only buffs they have inside of the vanilla game is they just start wearing armor and have enchantments. So this is meant to make the difficulty of the trial a little bit harder, just by giving the mobs armor and equipment. But the difference here is, if you kill the mobs, whereas in the normal trial spawners you would get a trial key, if you defeat this, there is a chance you'll get a ominous trial key. So we've now killed all the mobs at this, and you can see that time we got some potatoes, but there is a chance you can get an ominous trial key. Now, before we cover the ominous trial key and what it does, let's quickly just talk a bit more about these spawners. So spawners, if they are activated by Trial Omen, they will spawn mobs with armor. If the mob can't wear armor, so for example spiders, slimes and things like that, it will spawn double the amount of mobs, just so there's more to make it harder in that case. Now, there is one thing I forgot to mention, and that is some new potion types, but we'll showcase what these potions are when I show you how you can get them in survival gameplay. So first of all, if you activate a spawner under the ominous mode with the trial effect, there is a chance that randomly a potion or an entity will be spawned above you or a mob's head. Now, it would rather pick a player over a mob, but there is a chance it can also spawn above the mob. And this can be a list of effects or random entities like arrows and wind charges. But with this, there are 4 new potions that can be found. These potions can also be crafted with a brewing stand, and we'll cover that in a second. Now, what wind charging does, if an entity has wind charging and that entity was to die, they would let off a wind charge upon death. That wind charge would knock back any entities near it. Next, we have the potion of oozing. This, upon a mob's death, would spawn 2 medium-sized slimes. We then have a potion of weaving, which if a mob has this and they was to die, they would place 2 or 3 cobwebs randomly around them. And finally, we have the potion of infestation. If a mob has this effect, there is a 10% chance that they will drop a silverfish when they are damaged, not upon death. And when they drop a silverfish, there is a chance they'll drop 1 or 2. Now, all these potions come in one tipped arrow form, a bottle form, splash bottle form, and lingering potion form. Potion of wind charging is brewed with a awkward potion and a breeze rod inside of a brewing stand. The potion of oozing is crafted with a slime block and a awkward potion in a brewing stand. The potion of infestation is crafted with a stone block and also a awkward potion in a brewing stand. And then the potion of weaving is a cobweb and an awkward potion in a brewing stand. Now, the ominous trial key can open ominous vaults. These are vaults that are in harder to reach areas, so you can see there's one above this door. And opening this will work just like the normal vault, but the loot will be a little bit more rewarding. But the main thing you can get from this is a heavy core. Now, this is a 2% chance to get it from a vault, so it's quite rare. The heavy core works like a block. You can place it down. It works like a player head, although it doesn't have orientation. But what's good about this is you can throw it in a crafting table with a breeze rod. So let's quickly just do that. Breeze rod and a heavy core, and you'll get yourself a mace. Now, before we cover the mace, I quickly want to cover another new entity that's been added. We've covered the breeze, but there is another entity that can spawn inside of the trial chamber. But it does also have another home, and that is the bogged. The bogged is a new variant of the skeleton. It's its own entity, and you can see this is what it looks like. It's basically just a skeleton covered in moss and mushrooms. This entity can spawn inside of the trial chamber in replacement of skeletons or also strays. But it can also spawn inside of swamps and mangrove swamps. For it to spawn inside of a swamp biome though, the requirements need to be met. So it basically needs to be nighttime. Now, another thing to note about the bog spawning before we cover what the bog does, it will not replace skeletons in this biome. You will still be able to find skeletons spawning, but there is just a chance that bogs will spawn as well as skeletons. The bog spawning isn't really that common. You won't find them absolutely everywhere like you do with other hostile mobs. So now let's quickly cover what the bog does. The bog will burn in daytime like other skeleton variants. It will shoot arrows a little bit slower than the normal skeleton will, and that is because the arrows it shoots are poisonous. They give you the poison effect if they hit you. And the drops it will give when it is killed is just the basic bones and arrows, but there is also a chance if it's killed by a player that it will drop some poison arrows. Now, the final feature about the Bogged we're going to showcase, and it's not really going to be useful to many players, but you can shear the Bogged to get the mushrooms on it. When you shear a Bogged, you'll always get 2 mushrooms, and it's a random chance whether you get 2 red, 2 brown, or 1 of each. But when you shear the Bogged, the mushrooms will disappear off its model, and you'll not be able to shear this one again. You can also shear them in survival mode, although I wouldn't recommend it. The mace is a new melee weapon inside the game. It cannot be thrown like tridents, it works purely like a sword, but it has a special ability. Damage dealt by the mace will be built up the more you are falling within the world. Now, quick note, you have to be falling, you cannot be gliding with an elytra. So let's quickly talk about how the damage works. So for the first 3 blocks you fall, you'll deal 4 damage. For the next 5 blocks you fall, you'll deal 2 damage. And for every block after that, you will deal 1 damage. And there is no max damage that can be dealt with the mace, as long as you can go up. Now, obviously inside the survival mode, unless you're elytraing up, you can't go higher than the build height, which is 320. But damage does still get calculated above 320, although no mob in the game has that much health. So let me quickly just show you. If I was to grab myself a netherite sword, and then also a husk. I use husks just because they're the same equivalence to a zombie, but they don't burn in the daytime. So I threw a husk in the hole, and I'm dropping from 10 blocks up. So if I drop down with a sword and hit, so from falling and hitting it with a sword, I dealt, where is its health? I dealt about 8 hearts of damage. So I've now healed him up, so he's back at max health. If I now do the same with the mace, so I drop down and hit, I have 1 hit the husk just by dropping, because the more you fall, the more damage the mace builds up. This does mean you can basically one-shot any mob in the game if you go high enough. So I've now teleported myself up to 320, which is the max height inside of the vanilla game. And there we go, that time we got it. I did have to do that a few times. You can see how many times I've done the command. So let's now see how much health it has from 320 blocks. It has 90 health remaining. So if we was to drop down maybe another 50 blocks, we could one-hit a warden. And this does work with any mob in the game. Now, the way the mace is meant to be used, you're meant to power it with wind charges. So you're meant to shoot yourself up with wind charge and basically then smash the mob like so, dealing a little bit more damage than just sitting there hitting it with your sword. There are also some new enchantments inside of this update, and these are exclusive for the mace. And these are as follows. I'll cover what they do in a second. Wind Burst, and this comes in levels 1 to 3. We have Density, which comes in levels 1 to 5. And we have Breach, which comes in levels 1 to 4. So let's cover Density first, just because this is the easiest one to cover. And what this does is it increases the damage the mace deals per every block fallen by 0.5. And that's per every level as well. So if you have Density 1, you'll deal half a heart per every block. If you have Density 5, then you'll deal 2.5 hearts per every block you fall. Now Breach. Breach does it so it bypasses any armor the mob is wearing. So if the mob has netherite armor, diamond armor, it will bypass that by 15% per level, up to the max of 60% if you have level 4. And Wind Burst. Wind Burst does it so it activates a wind charge when you do a smash attack. Now, with Wind Burst, the level depends on how high you go. With Wind Burst level 1, you go 7 blocks up into the air. With Wind Burst level 2, you go 14 blocks up in the air. And with Wind Burst level 3, you go 21 blocks up in the air. But it has to be a smash attack, so you have to fall from at least 5 blocks. If I was just to jump and hit the warden, there is no Wind Burst activated. Now, another thing to note about the mace. Full damage is removed, but it is only removed if you land your hit upon falling. So I quickly want to show you. If I was to go in survival mode and fall down onto a mob, if I was to hit that mob before we hit the ground, as you can see, I took 0 full damage. If you was to miss the hit, then you would take all the full damage from where you started falling from. And full damage is a thing with Wind Burst, so you do need to be careful, as when you get shot up by the Wind Burst enchantment, you will take full damage if you don't land your hit. And that is it about the mace. The mace does also have 500 damage. It can be enchanted with Mending, Fire Aspect, Unbreaking, Curse of Vanishing, and also Bane of Arthropods and Smite. And it can also be repaired with Breeze Rods if you don't want to put Mending on it. Now let's cover some of the collector items that can be found in the trial chambers and that are new inside of 121. So the first one is Flow, and it looks like so. This can be found in Ominous Trial Vaults. We then have Gusta, which looks like that, and this can be found in normal vaults. We then have 2 new smithing templates. The first one looks like that, and this one can be found inside of the Ominous Vault, and this one is called Flow. The second one is called Bolt and looks like that if we have a look at the back as well. I can't unsee that now as a smiley face, but this can be found in normal vaults. We then have 3 new pottery shards, and this is Gusta, which is the breeze. We then have Flow, which is the breeze like wind, and then we have Scrape, which is just an axe. And all of these can be found in the hallways by just breaking random decorated pots. If I quickly just show you, if I head up to a hallway, you can find decorated pots randomly on the edges. And there is a chance that these decorated pots could have the pottery shards on the side of them. And then finally is 3 new music discs, which I have been playing in the background of this video. So first of all, we have one by Aaron, which is Principice, and this can be found in Ominous Vaults. You then have Creator by Lena Raine, and this can be found in normal vaults. And then you have Creator Music Box by Lena Raine, and this can be found inside of decorated pots that are scattered around the trial chamber. Now, quickly, I did forget some features that were added in 121. They're only minor, but I'm going to cover them quickly. First of all, you can get a Trial Explorer map from a Cartographer Villager. It shows up on level 3 of their trade, the Journeyman trade, but it's not 100% chance that you will get the map. As you can see, this one right here doesn't have the trade. So this is what the map looks like, with that symbol right there showing where the Trial Chambers is. There are also some new advancements inside of 121, and they are Crafters Crafting Crafters, and that is be near a crafter when it crafts a crafter. You have Minecraft Trials Edition, which is for entering a trial chamber. You then have Who Needs Rockets for using a wind charge to launch yourself up at least 8 blocks. You have Overkill, which is deal 50 hearts of damage in a single use of the mace. You also have a Blowback, which is kill a breeze with a deflected breeze shot wind charge. You have Lighten Up, which is for scraping a copper bowl with an axe to make it brighter. And then you have Under Lock and Key, which is for opening a vault with a trial key. And Revolting for unlocking an ominous vault with a ominous trial key. And they have also updated some old advancements like Monsters Hunted, which now requires the Bogged and the Breeze. That is now every major 1.21 feature covered. So let's now cover the minor changes that were made to this version. We're going to go through these fairly quickly, just because I don't want this video to be much longer than it already is. First of all, pistons have had some updated sounds. They've updated the sound of the piston pushing to make it a little bit more quieter, and they've made it fit more into how sounds are added these days. The witch, upon being killed, will now guaranteed drop redstone dust. It has a 100% drop rate, and it'll drop between 4 and 8. This is affected by looting, and this is to make witch farms a little bit more reliable for redstone. Another new thing inside of 121, boats can now be put on a lead in Java Edition. This does also count for rafts and chest boats and chest rafts, and when the boat is on a lead, you can pull the boat like you can with any other entity. It's a bit slow on land. This does also work in water, and it does also work if there are passengers in the boat. The next 2 changes are to do with nether portals. The first one, ender pearls thrown through a portal will now teleport you to the other side of that portal. This works in both directions, so you can now travel through portals with ender pearls. Note, if you throw the portal too high, it might not load because it might go into unloaded chunks, meaning you'll only be teleported when you enter the dimension. But this does also mean that dimensional stasis chambers are now a thing. And then the next change is with rideable entities. If you had an entity that you can ride, or you have the entity in a boat or something, you can now just walk that entity straight through a portal, and you and the entity will be teleported. This does also work in minecarts, and it does also work in boats. If we quickly just show you, if I row this boat even with a cow inside, we'll be teleported through inside of the boat still, and the cow is still with me. Now, if you do this in survival mode, the time at which it takes for you to teleport is removed, so you basically teleport instantly. Now, there is one more change to nether portals, and that is if you send ignited TNT through a nether portal, it will no longer be able to destroy the portal blocks from the portal it gets teleported to. So let me quickly just show you what I mean. If I was to ignite this TNT and then go through, the TNT on the other side will explode, but this TNT will never ever break this portal. They did also make some improvements to chunk loading, which I'm not going to go into too much detail, but loading chunks should be a little bit quicker. I'll throw the exact information on screen. And they did also add 4 new ambient sounds to caves. When you are just idling in caves, there are now 4 new sounds that can be played. I don't currently have access to them. Go and test them out for yourself. And then when you're in certain biomes and also in the main menu, there are now 9 new songs that you can hear. I'll have on screen what kind of biomes you can hear these songs in. But anyway, with that being said, that is the end of this video. We have covered everything in Minecraft 1.21. I'm happy with how the update turned out. I think what boosted it for me is leadable boats. I haven't covered any of the bug fixes just because bug fixes are a bit all over the place where this was developed in like 3 different versions. But if you did enjoy this video, do leave a like and subscribe as it does really help out. And I guess I'll see you guys in another video very soon. One of the next videos will be a really good one. So I'll see you guys then. Bye.